Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Retail Refresh, where we talk about all things retail media. I'm Jazz, one of your hosts.
I'm Rob, another host, and we're not even making Karim wait this time. Normally we have this whole long, ridiculous intro, and the guest has to sit there and have this pained smile on their face. They're like, why am I doing this? But you're in it from the start. Karim, you're our retail expert at Broadsign. Thank you for joining us for the special end of year episode.
Well, thank you for having me. And I miss those intros, though. That's the fun part.
We have a special...
I'm laughing so hard.
We have a special replacement for you today. Yes. Christmas jokes.
Oh, boy.
Jazz, do you want to start?
Yes. I'm going to give credit to a contestant on one of the Christmas Food Network shows for this one. What do elves learn in school? The alphabet.
Delightful.
Yeah. You read my mind.
So here's my joke and my question to you. How do snow people do their Christmas shopping?
You tell me, Rob.
They get everything off the winternet. The winternet.
I thought you were going to say Snowbody Knows. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We're being paid to do this. Karim, do you have any jokes for us today, or are you content to let us make asses of ourselves?
I can't beat you guys on that one.
Oh no, what happened?
Rob is being attacked by his robot vacuum again.
Like you, Rob.
You just gave him an opening. Oh no.
Oh, we lost Rob.
Rob. Your joke wasn't even that bad. I don't know why the internet did this to you.
There he is.
All right.
Genuinely no idea what that was. All right, so for this extra special end of year episode, we wanted to do a bit of a look back, see what's gone on this year, talk about some of the interesting conversations we've had, and get some special insights from this lovely group of people right here. So, Karim, in our first episode of this entire series, we asked you for just sort of like a good overview of what's happening right now in the in-store retail media space. And you said we're sort of at the start of a third wave of advertising. Retailers are starting to monetize their websites pretty effectively, or have been doing so for a while. And now they're looking to monetize their in-store environments with retail media as well. What kind of progress have you seen? Any noteworthy examples? Any surprises that stood out to you this year? Is the industry on the right track?
The industry is, and every conversation I've had this year, and there've been a number of them, whether that be with an individual retailer or with a group of like-minded people at a conference, have all been saying that this is the tipping point for the in-store digital media piece to kind of fall. That's the last domino that we're really waiting for, and this is the time. And there's a lot of excitement about this. There's a lot of interest in investing in this media channel. And I think one of the challenges is that there are mindsets that are being changed. This is no longer digital signage version 1.0 that we saw 10 years ago or 15 years ago. This is now in-store digital media, which is smart, it's connected, it's open, it's accessible, it's attributable, while still, giving the same kinds of capabilities that were always kind of there, which is, dynamic content and day parting. And I think that you need to have that, but it's really shifted from hanging a screen on a wall to understanding that this is a media channel that needs to be treated like any other media channel that you have in your retail media strategy. And one example is our partnership with Zitcha, which we recently announced. And Zitcha is kind of a one-stop shop for brands to access retail media inventory, whether that be digital display or social, but now also out of home. That this is something that they've seen when they've worked with their retail partners around the world. It's something that we're seeing, in with our own partners in places like Australia, where every single major retailer in Australia now has a concerted in-store digital media effort as part of their holistic retail media strategy. So we're starting to see this happen globally. I think in the first episode we did speak a little bit about how this was already happening, and it's now really firming up for the North American market on the back of what ANZ is doing and what EMEA has been doing for a long time.
For sure. I think the other interesting thing is that there's so many companies and organizations that have really started to rally around how they can really contribute to the different ways that retailers can really do this. And I think back to the conversation that we had with the CEO of Chicory, and turning their online recipe content into shoppable media. And I think one of the key things that stood out in that conversation was that a lot of the power there is that you can be relatively simple. But really empower that experience for retailers just by putting the right content in front of the right people. And obviously their offering is online, but I just thought I would get both of your thoughts on sort of that philosophy and how that applies to retail media in general.
Rob? You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Sure, no, I agree. If I can channel my inner sportscaster and just be like, it's all about the fundamentals, like you want to get just compelling messaging in front of people when they're in a buying mindset, and put that in the right places throughout your stores or online, whatever that looks like. But I do want to say, we do annual look backs at Broadsign of the most compelling out of home campaigns of the year. And sometimes there's really cool stuff that happens that involves fairly complex technology, right? It doesn't mean you can't also do those things, right? You can have really cool augmented reality activations inside your store if you really want to, but it needs to have a baseline foundation of we're putting the right messaging in front of people, and it's meant to enrich the shopping experience, not be weirdly disruptive and throw things at people that they don't want to see.
I completely agree with you, Robin. And I want to start by saying I'm a huge fan of Chicory. I think what they do is really very compelling for me as someone who eats, sleeps, and breathes the Food Network 24/7. It's always on in my house, to the point where my girlfriend is kind of like, can you just watch something else for once? But it's there, and I think to tie that into an experience in the store, these are the types of activations that are very powerful for a consumer, where it doesn't look like Las Vegas in a store. It's not ads being, nothing against Las Vegas, because I do love Vegas. So friends in Vegas, don't hate me. But it's not consistent bombarding of ad messaging. It really is contextually relevant, to your point, Rob, and for the retailer and for the brands as well. You have a recipe idea. You've gone from one item, which might be a fundamental chicken breasts or ground beef or whatever, or pork tenderloin, and you've now got a basket size that went from 1 to 15, because maybe it's a really cool recipe idea that you didn't even think of. And so I really like what Chicory is doing, and to bring that into the store, the technologies do exist for that to happen today.
I think it's also from a consumer standpoint, it can really help to start to simplify recipes and approaches to cooking, in this example, that otherwise just seem super challenging and complex, and things that you would never have thought of being able to try, and really bringing that experience is even further enhancing the fact that they wouldn't have experienced that unless they were in store.
Absolutely. And there are additional tie-in opportunities as well, right? So you think about TikTok, for example, now coming, off of phone. Some of these types of activations can be folded in alongside a recipe idea from someone like a Chicory, where all of these cooking trends that are hot on TikTok can now be brought into the store to actually create a very entertaining experience. It's not just a learning experience for a consumer, but it's something, I'm going to try that new TikTok, cooking trend, whatever, that cooking trend is for that particular moment. But these cross activations become something that can be very, very powerful in the store.
Absolutely.
So we had another conversation recently with the CEO of Omnia Retail. Omnia Retail is a platform for dynamic pricing. They do online, they do in-store retail. And he had some interesting ideas about how to incorporate that kind of technology and also just business model into a retail media strategy, including a pitch for a sort of like an in-store lightning deal style thing where there are different pricing promotions that pop up throughout the day, updated dynamically. One, I think it's a cool concept. I'd love to just chat about how dynamic pricing could trigger or inform retail media inside of stores. I think it's a neat idea. But beyond that, I think there's also just, we're at a point where it feels like a lot of different providers are solving different problems, and the pieces are starting to fit together to make in-store retail as dynamic as what we see online. So I'd also like to touch on like what do we think is going on, and do you think that, what do you think the in-store retail experience is going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that kind of thing?
I mean, the dynamic shopping experience is critical. This is what sets, and I don't want to keep using this example because I think we talked about it in the past, but it's what sets Amazon apart from everyone else, right? The ability to rapidly shift um, not only promotions but messaging in front of the consumer based on conditions that exist or changing at any given period of time. It's what's made them very successful in their retail media strategy. I think we love anything dynamic at Broadsign. I think that's been kind of something that we've all talked about quite a bit. A lot of our media owner customers, a lot of our brands that rely on the media owners to effectively um, uh, push those campaigns and push that messaging out into the out of home environment. It's something we've been doing very well for 20 years. So anything dynamic is great because it adjusts, it shifts, it's relevant, it makes sense. I think dynamic pricing is something that makes a lot of sense for a retailer. It makes a lot of sense for brands to push product, out the door. Retailers, have been doing couponing forever. This is just maybe a more modern, digitized way of doing this couponing, where it's in that moment in time, based on, let's say, your point of sale data, you can affect a change in promotional messaging. I would like to just underline this because I did see Sander, who's the CEO of Omnia, also touch on this: is that there do need to be guardrails for consumers and for brand safety for the retailer, in the sense that consumers should never fear that dynamic pricing is going to raise pricing for them at a period in time when they don't expect it. We see a lot of, obviously, news today about what's happening with prices of food and products in general, and inflationary pressure and all these types of things. So I think dynamic pricing makes a lot of sense, in the sense that it can help to save consumers money, and it can help to push product. But at this very same time, consumers need to be educated that this is not going to work against them, right? That retailers are really working in favor of the consumer.
Yeah, and he had some great strategies he was suggesting about just like frequency of pricing updates for the in-store environment being different than online. And there's lots that you can do to make this kind of model work in the in-store environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. And he was absolutely right. It needs to be well communicated to the shoppers what the experience actually entails. Definitely.
Yep, for sure. Another conversation that I really enjoyed was, sorry, I have to cough. Another conversation that I really enjoyed was the one that we had with Xveris Media, the agency that does a lot of digital advertising as well as retail media. And the idea that she shared around the notion of brands actually teaming up to have more powerful messaging in store. So peanut butter with jelly, avocados with salsa, obviously delivering that compelling message inside stores to help move multiple products at once, and probably appealing to more shoppers that are kind of going in there, maybe not really sure what they want, again, generating more ideas for them. I just wanted to get your take on that, and also hear if you've got any dream combos that you could imagine that could fall into that.
I mean, look, this is what the large CPG, brands have been doing forever. I mean, tell me about a time when you haven't seen like Tide right beside Bounty. These are cross promotional upsell initiatives that have really been the purview of the companies that have the purchasing power to be able to dominate that messaging. I think where this kind of a strategy really comes in is when you start talking about, first of all, digital giving you flexibility. It's not static, right? So the ability to have different types of messaging, going on at the same time, which is not fixed in time or fixed in, on a flyer or on a shelf label or on an end cap. Provides a massive opportunity for mid-market and independent brands to really shine and to get in front of the consumer. And it's something that we've spoken about actually in the past, right? We giving them the opportunities to expose their product and expose the benefits and features of their product. And I would think of an independent coffee roaster alongside an Italian biscotti brand. Not that would make my dream, because I don't really drink coffee anymore, but it's one of those things which is such an easy lift for two brands to come together to say, look, we've got a complementary product that might work at a specific period of time, or just in general all the time. You mentioned peanut butter and jelly, right? I mean, giving them the opportunity to be able to do that. And I think that's where these digital in-store media opportunities also lie for them, because they are not necessarily, or don't necessarily have to be always dominated by those big CPG companies.
For sure.
Yeah, I think of like, if it's raining out, on a Friday night, have a list go up for like, movie night snacks with the family. Or even there's probably some cool opportunities to, subtly tie your product to, or I mean, maybe not so subtly. If there's a new WoW expansion going up, maybe Mountain Dew and Doritos put out a combo ad or something, not to be reductive or anything about the WoW community. You're all great people, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. There's lots of fun possibilities with this.
And you're absolutely right with the movie thing, right? Because theaters have been doing that for years, where they've got the combo with a Coke or a Pepsi and all these different candies from different manufacturers, and they all come together to provide an offer for the consumer. There's another one that occurs to me, which is tying in some non-endemic spend into the store. So you think about maybe a financial services product, or you think about an automotive product, or you think about any sort of product which would be complementary, but you can make it so it doesn't look out of place in that environment. So these are kind of opportunities for them to collaborate, but that flexibility of the media or of the medium really lends itself to this type of an activation for sure.
I'd love to see like a combo ad of like I don't know, like an accounting firm and like Haagen-Dazs. It's like tax season got you stressed out. Here's a pint of ice cream. Also call us to your taxes. Like I think that would be like so fun.
That would work. It could also work for divorce lawyers as well. The dream combos. That's your dream combo. Is
the dream combos? Tax and ice cream. I think the other benefit too that a lot of retail locations have is that they can strategically place some of these products obviously together that would naturally be, in the same section or in the same aisle. So I think a lot of the time when I go to the grocery store, I'm like, oh, I want chocolate. And then I'm in that aisle and I'm like, oh, there's chips here. And it just like takes me on a journey of like all these other things that I would consider. So it isn't great for me. It means I need to go to the gym more. But it's great for the retailers to be able to actually, show that as well.
You have the chocolate company in your gym and they're advertising together.
We're starting a new business model.
New business model, right? It's totally.
So Karim, we've asked you this before. We're going to ask you again today. We'll probably ask you the exact same question a bunch of times in the future. What is an idea you have for an interesting or effective in-store media campaign?
It's a good question. I mean, I think, we're coming up to the holiday season. I would love to see, so we've got, maybe just lay some context here. There's a great company out there called Friosk, and they've got these little kiosks that in in Island store where they actually give away like free samples, and they tailor the messaging around the samples, and it's actually really cool. I'd love to see like as we get into the holiday season, an advent calendar with free samples. Like I would come back to the store all day, every day if I was getting like free samples of like chocolate and like panettone or like you know dish soap so I could wash dishes for Christmas dinner or like like I think that would be really cool where you could have like this activation almost like every week or and do kind of like a kind of cool little advent calendar type of thing. That'd be awesome.
It makes shopping into like a little bit of a game. Yeah, I like that
Yeah,
a lot.
what are we gonna get today?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Any final thoughts before we hang up for the entire year? Any inspiring words for retailers, brands, agencies, onlookers who are just watching retail media heading into 2024?
I'll just jump in because we've seen explosive growth in retail media, and that's not going to stop. We see an expected spend. I think next year, the varying estimates around. I kind of see the average at about $140 billion globally next year for retail media, and it's not going to slow down. This is going to be a way for brands, and probably will become the primary way for brands to reach consumers. Just generally speaking, I would love some advice I could give to a retailer. Um, you don't have to go all the way to the end of the capabilities that exist today right off the bat. You can crawl, walk, run. Just choose technologies that will allow you to run. That I think that's the critical part of this here. We know a lot of retailers. We have a lot of conversations with retailers who have done digital signage, quote unquote, air quotes, digital signage, and it's hard and difficult and challenging. And I know that all of those words mean the same thing, so don't hate me, Rob, for don't
That's
turn on your
okay.
wordsmith face. It's challenging to unwind yourself from technologies that are already there but that are closed ecosystems. Don't be afraid of that challenge because it will pay off in the end. It's really important to treat your four-wall environment like an extension of all of your other media channels because it's your most powerful media channel. It's where 80% of your customers are still transacting. It's where you have the most flexibility. It's where you have the most impact. It's where consumers listen and see. And I think that would be my advice for 2024. Search out for those opportunities, listen to what's out there, but ultimately make the decision that'll allow you to grow into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just to build on that, there's also so many complementing technologies and partners in this space now that you really have an opportunity to make it your own as a retailer. It doesn't need to feel like there's kind of one model to follow. There's so many creative organizations, agencies, partners that can really help you create something that's really supporting the brand perception that you want to have. And I think this is one of the best times to just start finding out what that could look like for your organization.
Yeah, I feel like I have the simplest advice of all. Just like get excited and get active with in-store because it's where most of your shoppers are. It's where most of the buying is happening. And the retail media networks that start taking over are the ones that are going to be doing in-store soonest and best over the long term. So, yeah. I think that's it. You guys, we made it to the end.
Oh my gosh.
Camera failures and all.
And yeah. And another year, right?
Yeah. It's an exciting time. It's exciting to be in this space right now, watching all this stuff happening and being in the thick of it. I'm excited to see what 2024 brings. So have a safe and happy holiday season, both of you, and also everybody watching. And we'll be back in a few weeks with the next episode of the show. Do either of you want to take the sign off line? Do you remember what it is?
I think it should be Karim.
Honestly, I don't remember what it is.
Okay, I'll do it. So
You're the only one to remember. That's all.
Because you wrote it. I'm gonna come up with new songs, jokes, and new sign-off lines.
I can't wait. 2024 is going to be a killer year. We're gonna be back in a month, everybody. So make sure you stop by to see what else we have in store for you. Through the magic of editing, this is gonna be flawless. Flawless.